Jayatam Shruto Pangor Mamamandamater Gati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madanamohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratanakar Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalibhi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasarasarambhi Vam Shivata Tatakshitaha Karshana Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Vrindai Tulsi Debbai Priyai Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I offer my unlimited Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta. Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And then I offer my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the most worshipable divine lotus feet of my beloved Siksha Gurudevs. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astu Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And then I offer my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Siksha Guru Varga and my Arupa Nuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So, yesterday we read about Sri Raghunath Das Goswami Pad's transcendental journey to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One of the most epic stories of the most exalted transcendental personality who ever lived on this planet. And how he came under the shelter of Mahaprabhu and was given over to Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami. And how he was looked after with so much love and affection. And how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also told him when he arrived that Krishna has been very merciful to you. And what has Krishna done for you? I'm just reading that again. Yes, so Mahaprabhu, I love this verse. This is right at the end yesterday. We didn't get a chance to.
You didn't get to it?
What?
You didn't get to it, you're saying?
No, we got to it, but we didn't read the purport, we didn't discuss it. But it's such a significant part where Mahaprabhu talks about Yes, so now I got to that verse. So when Raghunath Das Goswami arrived there, he offered prayers at the lotus feet of all the devotees, headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. And then seeing the special mercy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had bestowed upon Raghunath Das Goswami, they also embraced him, all the devotees. Yes.
That was when he first arrived. He basically says, grab the feet.
Yes, yes, he clasped the lotus feet of the Lord, but the Lord stood up and embraced him. And, he first approached from a distant place and paid his obeisances, and Mukunda Datta said, here is Raghunath. And then Mahaprabhu embraced him. And then Raghunath offered prayers to all the devotees, the lotus feet of all the devotees, headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. And then Mahaprabhu then told him, Krishna Kripa Balishta Sabha Hoite, means that Krishna's mercy is more powerful than anything else. Balishta, Bala, Balishta, Krishna Kripa Balishta Sabha Hoite is more merciful than anything else. Tomar Kadila. Tomar Kadila means he has delivered you. Tomare Kadila. From what? Vishaya Vishta Garta. Vishaya Vishta Garta means the ditch of the stool of material enjoyment. Right? This is the vision of the exalted Mahabhagavats and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. From their perspective, what the conditioned souls are chasing after in this world and trying to taste and relish is literally equivalent to a ditch of stool.
This is for this description that he gives of saying that he's come from that is probably more so on the Leela side because Raghunath Das is an internal.
Of course, it's on the Leela side.
Yeah.
But he's also then makes a comment, which we're going to review again here, about Raghunath Das Goswami's parents and uncle, right? And what is their position? Even though they have faith in Mahaprabhu, and even though they're actually great devotees.
Yeah, I remember from yesterday he says that they're, what is it?
Vaishnava Prai.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that.
Not Vaishnava, but Vaishnava Prai, almost Vaishnava. This is very significant narration in this, the whole Leelas of Mahaprabhu, because who is this divine personality, Raghunath Das? Point is that Raghunath Das Goswami's life is an example for us. And so much wealth and opulence, he had everything. But because his heart had been completely taken over by Mahaprabhu upon their first meeting, and he could have no attraction at all for it. And then that other example is also given about Maharaj Bharat, right? Because Maharaj Bharat, he had everything. He was actually literally the emperor of the world at that time. Very ancient, the dynasty of Mahabharata, all in the Bhagavatam, everything is coming from there. He was the emperor of the world at that time, saintly king, Rajarshi. But he had no attraction or attachment to all of that. And he gave it up, as we heard yesterday, when, just as you give up your stool once you pass it, you see. So, and I can tell you, I mean, I heard this so many years ago. I heard these statements and these verses from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it made an impression on me. And, you know, all devotees require to have this understanding. They need this for their spiritual advancement. Because we have to, although we are not realizing it yet, but when realization comes, some internal yearning for the sweet nectar of Krishna Prem, Lobha, when that comes in the heart, nothing can hold that back at that point. And it will become very clear. What is the standard of enjoyment of the living entities who are steeped in material illusion? Because in fact it is. And we're thinking we're this body, which is made of stool, urine, and pus, blood, and everything, and we want to combine with other bodies and produce more bodies, and it's literally like worms in the stool, which Mahaprabhu later says he's comparing the uncles like that. So, you know, to an ordinary materialistic person, this would sound quite bizarre, you know? But the fact of the matter is that what we are reaching for, what we are striving toward, it is only attainable when we let go of the disgusting nature of the material enjoyment. Now, a person who's fully realized, he may still even be in household life. This is something we should understand. There are many householder devotees of Mahaprabhu amongst his personal associates, and in the modern day, even some of our acharyas and so forth. But, yeah.
He's also grihastha, right?
Huh?
He's still grihastha, right?
No. He's left grihastha life long time ago. You know, but he stayed in that condition during his years of raising his family, but he was constantly absorbed in chanting, even when he had his job. There's one devotee in Vrindavan and Mathura. His name's Om Prakash Brijbasi. He's actually, he's a disciple of Bhakti Pragyana Keshav Maharaj, elderly devotee. But he personally knew Aniruddha Prabhu back in that time because he worked in the same department with him. And I sat next to him one day and taking prasadam at Rup Sanatan. I said, "Oh, Prabhuji, I heard that you knew Sri Aniruddha Prabhu for many, many years, like when in your younger years, many years ago. And so I'm just wondering, like, what's your impression of him? You know? Oh, very great saint and mystic," he said. And Sri Aniruddha Prabhu also told that in his household life, both he and his wife, at one point in their, like early on in their marriage, they both decided we are not interested in these things. That material sex life and this, not interested. They produced children, they raised a family. But his wife also, he told, I was personally with him when he told this. And he said, toward the end, she was chanting 1.5 lakhs every day. She passed away, before him. And he told the story. We were at Radha Kund. For the first time that I met Sri Aniruddha Prabhu was at Radha Kund some years back. And he was telling how, when she departed, because he still lives in the same village, but he hasn't been living with the family. He lives in a separate house and been chanting his 3 lakhs of Harinam every day. And in the village, so many people are chanting 1 lakh. He's just influenced so many people. And then he said that his wife appeared to him in a vision after she departed. And she appeared in her gopi form. And she said, I am here now. Yeah, we're talking about real transcendentalists here. So the thing is that a real devotee, he performs his duties according to his social condition, but his spiritual life is the main focus, number 1 focus. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I was walking with Gurudev on a morning walk in Navadvip many years ago, and Gurudev was kind of talking about the topic of devotees, how there were many householders who have also been great devotees. And then I said, oh yes, Gurudev, and also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was in household life. And then Gurudev, he said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was never householder. He was Saptam Gosai, the 7th Goswami. In other words, that was only external, that he's in household life. And he produced children, and he had his job and so forth. But if you see, there's actually a schedule that one of his sons had written about how he lived, what was his 24-hour schedule. Did you ever see that?
No, I'm interested in that.
I mean, he was like, I can't remember in detail, but I'll tell you what I can remember. So he would return at the end of his workday to his house in the evening. And he would then sit and relax for 15 minutes. In the Vedic times, they used to have these, like a swing on the porch, and we'd relax, and some drink would be brought for like 15 minutes. And he would give a little bit of time to his sons or whoever was there. Then he would take his bath, and he would sit and he would chant his japa, extensive japa, bhajan. And I'm actually I've forgotten the details of it, but I remember that he would, he would not give, it was very little time to the interaction with the family members. He would take, and he had a very strict diet, like 2 chapatis and a cup of milk, or, it was like specific. He would take something in the evening, and he would continue doing his bhajan, and he would take a few hours of rest, but he would write in the evening time, his books. Then he would take some rest, and then in the morning, he would do his bhajan, and all of that. Right? And then go to his work. So it was like his life was completely absorbed in Krishna, day and night, day and night, day and night. And it wasn't like he was living as an attached householder and spending lots and lots of time with the kids and with the grown-up sons and this and that. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he later on, after Srila Bhaktivinoda, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur never saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur as his father. He always saw him as Guru, as the delegation of Srimati Radharani. And that's why we have in that song by Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam, how his whole absorption was Bhakti Vinoda Padam, the mission of Bhakti Vinod. Even from early boyhood, he was being trained by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, So these extraordinary devotees have shown the example. And the highest example amongst the Gaur Bhaktas for us is Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Our Raghunath Das Goswami, he has shown the pathway. And from the angle of having the highest material opulence, but had no interest at all in it. And so he said to him that the mercy of Lord Krishna is stronger than anything else. Nothing can compare with the mercy of Krishna. And therefore the Lord has delivered you from the ditch of materialistic life, which is like a hole into which people pass stool. Now here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, see, we passed by these purports yesterday because we ran out of time. But we have to do some justice to these topics properly. So now he's saying, according to the law of karma, everyone is destined to suffer or enjoy according to a certain material standard. But the mercy of Lord Krishna is so powerful that the Lord can change all the reactions of one's past karma or fruitive activities. Is that not true? Can Krishna do that if he wants?
Yes.
Yes, he can. And the devotees know this. His mercy is all-powerful. So if he wants, whatever you're destined to suffer or enjoy, if Krishna wants, he can change that. And he does, according to his will. So Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he specifically drew attention to the mercy of Lord Krishna. That's what he drew attention to. His first words to Raghunath Das Goswami. The mercy of Krishna is all powerful. And that mercy is more powerful than anything else, for it had saved Raghunath Das from the strong bondage of materialistic life, which the Lord compared to a hole where people pass stool. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his verdict that those who are addicted to the materialistic way of life are like worms that are living in stool, but they cannot give it up. How does that sound? Those who are attached to the materialistic life are like worms that are living in stool and they cannot give it up. How does that sound?
Reminds me of the story of Indra.
Yeah, the Indra story when he became a hog. Yes. But how does this sound? Are you going to find this in the Bible? No, you're not going to find. The condemnation coming from the absolute plane of vision of what is truth, what is fact, what is supreme divinity. You're not going to find this. Because they don't have the standard of renunciation. Just to remind ourselves, there's one verse that is one of the most prominent verses. Srila Prabhupada would quote it also. From time to time, he would quote it. Can you sit on the pillow, Prabhuji? There's a pillow here for you. You can sit. Yes. There's a verse which is written by Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. And Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya has described Mahaprabhu. Actually, there's two verses. And later on, Mahaprabhu tore up these two verses, but it had already been memorized. As these verses were glorifying him as the Supreme Lord, who has come now in this Kali Yuga. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Sikshartam Eka Purushak Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Kripan Budhir Yat Tamaham Prapadye. So, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. Prabhupada, he quoted this verse in his purports in various places. The mission, the movement of Lord Chaitanya is called Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. What does Nija mean? You know this word, Nija?
Eternal or unknown?
No, that's Nitya. Nija. Nija means one's own. His own. Nija. Like Nija Jan, Krishna's very own associates. Nija Jan. So, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. So, Bhakti Yoga, Mahaprabhu came to give this, his very own bhakti, who is Krishna himself, combined with Srimati Radhika. And to give Nija Bhakti Yoga, he has taught Vairagya Vidya. Vairagya means what? What does Vairagya mean? Renunciation. Renunciation. Vairagya. And what does Vidya mean? We heard the other day. Transcendental knowledge. Sikshartam Eka Purusha Purana. The very eternal, ancient Supreme Lord, the Purusha Purana, means Bhagavat. He has now come to teach Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Sikshartam Eka. Sikshartam means for the purpose of giving instruction to the jivas. And Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sarira Dhari. He has taken the name and the form. Sharira Dhari. He has accepted this form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He is an ocean of mercy. Kripam Budhir Yas Tamaham Prapadye. He is an ocean of mercy. I surrender at his lotus feet. So the Bhakti Yoga, actually, it requires these two elements, Vairagya and Vidya. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated in his own pastimes, all of his associates demonstrated in their pastimes, even though they were in household life, but they gave up the attempt to try to enjoy, and they simply became absorbed in the nectar of Hari Kirtan, in the nectar of Krishna Prem that Mahaprabhu was giving. So, yes. Now, a Griha Vrata, one who has decided to live in a comfortable home, although it is actually miserable, he is in a condemned position. I'm analyzing each one of these sentences here for all of our benefit, including myself. I'm not pointing fingers by reading this, because I'm reading the words of Srila Prabhupada, right? Which are ultimately explaining the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Raghunath Das Goswami. So we know the word Griha and we know the word Vrata. What does that mean? Prahlad Maharaj told this to his father, Hiranyakashipu, Griha Vrata. And also, when Lord Rishabdev was instructing his 100 sons in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he also used this term, Griha Vrata. It means determined vow to remain in materialistic household life. A Griha Vrata, one who has decided, that means decided, yes, I am going to live in a comfortable home. But it says, although this so-called comfortable home is actually miserable. So such a person who's in that situation is actually in a condemned position. Condemned. Now this is pretty severe, isn't it? Because if householders hear this, then what do they feel? What do they think? What do they think when they hear this?
Feel like you're not going to attain Krishna.
Okay, that's a good conclusion. Anything else they might feel or think?
It's significant, but that's how we should feel anyway, so.
You see, if somebody wants to hold on to that, they can't become Krishna conscious. That's what Prahlad Maharaj actually instructed. Matir na Krishne paratakshvatova mito vipadyet griha vratana. Griha vrata he's mentioning here. Adanta gobir vishatam to mishram punak punak charvita charvanam. Now, this is one of the most famous verses that he spoke to his father, which caused his father to become very upset and then to try to kill him. He said, Matir na Krishna. No one can become Krishna conscious. Parata swatova. Either by good instructions from others, or swatova, or by one trying his own self. Mito vipadyeta griha vratanam. If he has taken a griha vrata, a determined vow to remain within materialistic life, griha vrata, that's what it's called, then even joint conferences will not convince that person. Okay? And then what happens to such a person? Adanta gobir, vishatam to mishram. Adanta gobir, it means unbridled senses. Gobir, go. Unbridled senses. Adanta gobir, that person with the uncontrolled senses, vishatam to mishram. He will go to a miserable, dark, tamishra means darkness, right? Vishatam, he will live in this world of sense gratification in darkness. And in that condition, then what? Punak, punak, charvita, charvananam. You recognize those words? Punak, punak means again and again. And charvita, charvananam. That means chewing. He is chewing that which has already been chewed. Right? Very important instructions. That's why Prahlad Maharaj's instructions are so essential that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati spoke on it more than 100 times. Mahaprabhu himself would listen to the Prahlad Maharaj's instructions again and again. They're absolutely essential. So, a devotee should be situated in one of the 4 ashramas. That's necessary. That's necessary. In Daivi Varnashram Dharma. Devotee should be in one of the 4 ashrams and should carry out his respective duties in those ashramas. Like we saw yesterday, that Raghunath Das Goswami was instructed by Mahaprabhu to go back home, don't become crazy, don't become a monkey renunciate, go back home and act like an expert materialist. Right? Act. But internally, what? Internally, just like a woman who has a paramour lover, she definitely doesn't want anyone to find out. Her life will be ruined. Not in the modern day, nothing. But at that time, in Vedic times, or even in the modern day, big problem, big problem. But she has entered into this, and therefore she doesn't want anyone to find out. But inside, she's always thinking of that paramour. She doesn't want anyone to know. So therefore, what does she do? She is very careful to perform her household duties very diligently so that nothing is suspected. right? And Mahaprabhu gave that instruction to Raghunath Das Goswami, which is actually transcendental realm, right? And Raghunath Das Goswami understood, and he internally, and he became, and then we heard that after he returned and from meeting Lord Nityananda, then he did not go into the inner part, and he slept on the Durga Mandap there. So now, externally, he's becoming more detached after meeting Lord Nityananda. But during the year that after he met Mahaprabhu, then he acted in that way. We told the story of how we can turn on this fan.
And you can light off, it's just
Well, the light is needed, I think, until it's, because at any time soon it's going to start to get dark. Yeah. But no, with the fan it will be plenty. Both windows are open. Oh, who closed the curtain?
for the light.
Oh, for the light. Oh, okay. That's why there's not a cross there, because you closed the curtain. And that door of the kitchen, I think we
She
can
was
also...
doing pot washing
She's not
pots.
anymore, though, right?
She's
I
done.
don't think she is. We can keep that open. Because I notice...
No, I can. The current, the light is not really strong.
Mhm. Yes. So the devotee, he takes care of his duties in the ashram in which he's situated. But he cultivates inwardly and cultivates by practice of sadhana and so forth. He cultivates detachment. But he also cultivates attachment. Because the word vairagya has two meanings. Vairagya means renunciation, but when you divide the two words, vai and ragya, it means a very special kind of rag, which means attachment. You understand? Vairagya, a special kind of attachment, raga. So what is that special kind of attachment? It is attachment to Krishna. So this is the actual life of a grihasta. And a grihasta is one who is in the ashram for the sake of spiritual advancement. That's the purpose. Each one of these ashramas, brahmachari, grihasta, vanaprastha, sannyas, each one of them are for the purpose of spiritual advancement. But the grihasta ashram is the only one of the three ashrams in Vedic culture in which sense gratification is allowed. Like there is, as it is told, a license, Prabhupada said, license for sense gratification. But it's for the purpose of serving Krishna. But ordinary materialistic householders, they have adanta gobi, meaning uncontrolled senses. And therefore, their advancement is very slow because they are not properly detaching. So advancement will be much slower. But when one can actually enter into a life of internal and also external detachment, well, then they are moving along properly on the path. This is actually always the test. There's detachment. But the life of a proper grihasta is also a glorious life. A glorious life. That service is necessary. And it is allowed. It is given sanction in the Vedic culture. But later, detachment must come. If someone is not becoming detached in the later period of their life, then it is not on track. because, as it is told in the Shastras, Pancha Shoradvam Vanam Brajet. That means from the age of 50 years, one should begin to go to the forest, Vanam. You remember how Prahlad Maharaj in that first shloka in the 7th canto chapter, where Hiranyakashipu brings Prahlad on his lap, what is the best thing that you've learned? And he says, Tat sadhamanye asuravarya dehinam sada samudvigya diya hidvatma patam griham andakupam gato vanam yad harim ashrayeta. Prahlad Maharaj is telling that this place, Andakupam, dark well, Griha, Andu, Gato Vanam. Gato Vanam means he should go to the Vana, to the forest. Now, in the Acharya's commentaries, they are mentioning that the forest actually means Vrindavana. Vrindavana. For the Vaishnavas, to go to Vrindavana. Gato Vanam Yad, and there, Harim Ashrayeta, take full shelter of Hari. So the Vedic culture has this age divisions of, at the age of 50, then Pancha Shoradvam Vanam Vrajet. One should go to the forest. So in the teaching of Prahlad Maharaj, that means Vrindavan, and take shelter of Krishna. So it means also that that internal detachment should be cultivated. It should be coming. One should become detached. Not everyone will do, but those who have significant spiritual knowledge and advancement, they understand this point. That to perfect my human body, my human form, I will have to become detached. And this also applies to ladies, not only to men. You know, in the Vedic system, the lady will either go to her elder sons and live with them, and she will be, even in modern times, even 30, 40 years ago, I've met many older Gujarati ladies who are like the grandmothers, and they live in the family, and they live a saintly life as an example. They pass down the knowledge to the grandchildren, reading them stories and all of that, you see. It's a very sweet, wonderful culture, Vedic culture, see. Or if they don't have a grown-up son that they go to live with, then they also live in ashram with other ladies. We see that in the modern day. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also gave shelter at the Yoga Pith of Mahaprabhu. He established an ashram where these ladies would live, who did not have husbands and who were older, and they were serious practitioners of bhakti, and they were called Vishnu Priya Ashram, something like that, after Vishnu Priya Devi, who lived her whole life from the age of 16 in separation from Mahaprabhu, you see. So, attachment has to come. That's the real spiritual life. And we may see, in this modern day especially, they may not take sannyas, or even formal vanaprastha. Gurudev was giving vanaprastha to senior men, devotees, in the form of giving them saffron cloth. Many of us, we received from Gurudev like that. And so, but the main thing is, like Sri Aniruddha Prabhu, we mentioned him before, he never put on saffron cloth, but he is a Goswami. He's been completely detached, and actually Srila Bhakti Balabhatirtha Maharaj gave him the sannyas mantras. He's a godbrother of his, and he gave him the sannyas mantras. So, but he is such a incredible Vaishnava. And it's so wonderful. We saw him this last time in Mayapur. He was there for some days. He hadn't actually come to Mayapur for like 23 years or something, you know. And it was so wonderful to have his Sangha. So sweet personality. And he wears a turban because he's from Rajasthan. And it's like meeting a Brij Basi, you know, like when you meet him, he's just completely absorbed in Krishna and Krishna's holy names, you know. And he's wearing a colorful turban. His face is so effulgent. And he wears white cloth and a nice shawl, you know. And he's very revered by many persons, but he's so, you cannot believe. Oh my God. You met him?
Yeah.
When?
That's last time I went to Vrindavan.
When? Which time?
November.
Oh, you were there in Kartik.
No, it was at the end. I went after Kartik, but
Okay.
yeah, I saw him when he was like, he happened to be traveling at the time that I was going.
Yeah.
So he was in Delhi and then he went to Varshana.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was there, I like got off the plane and went directly to Varshana. And I saw him, he was meeting with that one Baba.
Oh yeah, I saw a video of that actually.
I took video, yeah.
Not Ramesh Baba, another one. Who's a
Vinod Baba.
Vinod Baba,
Yeah.
Kirtan. I saw that video on YouTube. You were there when he met with him.
I took video.
Yeah, and
everyone had their cameras out.
And Vinod Baba kept on trying to give him some donation, and he kept on.
Yeah.
You know. Finally, Vinod Baba realized he's not going to accept. You know?
Yeah.
And he doesn't. He won't accept any donations.
I was there for that. It was like.
In fact, he gives donations. Yeah. So, you know, these are the real Vaishnavas. They live in this world completely absorbed 24 hours a day. Just to have their darshan is so beneficial and uplifting, you know. But he's showed this unique path of not actually taking saffron cloth, and neither did he take the Babaji Vesh. But he remains in his village, continuing chant 3 lakhs of Harinam, you know, and for years living separately already before his wife departed. I think it was more like around the age of 50, 55 or something when he stopped living with the family and then lived separately like that. So, yeah.
Maybe about the mood and intention, not necessarily the externals. I mean, that's like an example that I see maybe in that.
Yeah.
If he's not I shouldn't say not falling, but if he's not taking Vanacross, but you even said that he did get some
yes,
mantras.
But that's kept secretly, you know, not that it's advertised. And, you know, like sannyasis by formal division of the varnashram, they're in a higher position, right? And he honors that. Even with people like us, you know, you'll get down and pay obeisances and you feel so bad, you know. So, they're the real thing. Now, only the mercy of Krishna from such misery. Are not thinking it's miserable. Theoretically, or from time to time, they feel the pinch and the pain and the misery. But their general view is that, I'm happy.
Well, it's like the teachings of Queen Kunti. She's like hoping for distress because and then we want to reach out to
That's
Krishna.
right, yes.
Which she's just setting an example, which is not. But yeah, for us.
But they were put through very heavy circumstances in their lives. The Mahabharata story, you know. So without Krishna's mercy, one cannot get out of the filthy entanglement of materialistic life. Without Krishna's mercy. The poor living entity cannot give up his materialistic position on his own. Only when granted the special mercy of Krishna can he give it up. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew very well that Raghunath Das was already liberated, but nevertheless, he emphasized that Raghunath Das's life of material comfort as a very rich man's son with a very beautiful wife and many servants to attend him was like a ditch of yeah. The Lord thus specifically indicated that ordinary men are very happy with comforts and family life are in no better position than worms in stool. That is a really straightforward purport here. But Mahaprabhu was being very straightforward. So then, Raghunath Das answered to Mahaprabhu, but only within his mind he answered. As Mahaprabhu was telling him that, then Raghunath in his mind, he said, Krishna nahi jani. I don't know who Krishna is. Tava kripa kadila ama. I simply know that your mercy, oh my Lord, has saved me from my family life. He's thinking in his mind. Then Mahaprabhu continued, Tomara pita jeta duijani. Your two relatives, your Pita, your father, and his elder brother, Jeta. So, they are both related as brothers to my own grandfather, Nilambara Chakravarti. You know who Nilambara Chakravarti is? Is the father of Sachimata. So on Mahaprabhu's maternal side, a very great Pandit, Nilambara Chakravarti. So, he's telling, your father and his elder brother, they are both related as brothers to my grandfather, Nilambara Chakravarti. Therefore, I consider them my grandfathers. So here it's explained in the purport that Nilambara Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was very intimately related to Raghunath Das's father and uncle. Nilambara Chakravarti used to call them his younger brothers because both of them were very much devoted to the Brahmanas and they were very respectful gentlemen. And similarly, they used to call Chakravarti, addressing. So Raghunath Das, however, was almost the same age as Lord Chaitanya. May joke about his grandfather. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya advantage of the relationship between his grandfather and Raghunath Das's and uncle to speak in a joking way. So now he tells. And his elder brother are younger brothers of Nilambara Chakravarti. I may joke about them in this way. So he's saying parihas. Parihas means jokingly, right? Tomar bap jeta Vishaya Vishta Garter Kida. Take a guess what he just said to Raghunath Das Goswami about his father, Raghunath's father and uncle.
Repeat, please.
Tomar Bap Jeta. That means your father and his elder brother. Vishta Garter. They're what?
They're entangled in material.
Like, get rid of them.
No, you have to make a graphic. Mahaprabhu, he's already made one graphic statement. Now he's similarly making another one. Vishaya, Vishta. We're going to break this down now. Vishaya means material. Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakrajiv ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki Jai Shri Gaura Nitai ki Jai. Okay, so Vishaya. This we should know the word. We should know this word. Vishaya means what?
Family, materialistic life.
No, it means material enjoyment.
Enjoyment.
Okay? Vishaya.
Oh.
Vishaya means sense objects of enjoyment. Vishaya. That's why Narottam Das Thakur prays, Vishaya Chariya Kave, Shuddha Haviman. When will I give up Vishaya? I'm just remembering right now how when Srila Gurudev came here 1 year, in the later period, before 2010, when he came the last time, but it might have been like 2006, 7, something like that, when he came for the festival here. And Gurudev told to the crowd of the devotees, he said, I am very worried for all of you, because I see that detachment is not coming in you. And he says, this means that you are not doing bhakti. Because if you're doing bhakti, detachment will automatically be coming. But I'm seeing, and I'm very worried. I'm very worried for you. So this is the desire of Sri Guru, that we advance and gradually we detach. Otherwise our life cannot become successful. Without detachment, our spiritual life cannot become successful. We can go on a low level, and then in the next life again, we'll have to go through the same thing again, and then in the next life after that again. But if detachment is coming properly due to the fact that you're really and you're doing bhajan, then you'll be successful. And Krishna will change everything. So now Mahaprabhu is making a statement to Raghunath Das Goswami upon his arrival. And he's talking about Raghunath's father and uncle, who Mahaprabhu is saying, they're like my brothers also. Or, what did he say? Just like my,
My grandfathers are like...
younger brothers of Nila, yes. Yeah, so just like the grandchildren about parents. You know, grandchildren can do that. So he's saying, so my dear Raghunath Das, your father and his elder brother like worms in of material enjoyment. Vishaya Visher, Mahapida. Mahapida means very great disease. He says, they are like that. Worms in the stool, in the ditch of material enjoyment, for the great disease of the poison of material enjoyment, the great disease of the poison of material enjoyment is what they consider happiness. This is why, now, purport. When a man is attached to material enjoyment, he is attached to many missions. But nevertheless, he accepts his condemned position as one of happiness. Sense enjoyment is so strong that he cannot give it up, exactly as a worm cannot give up the stool. Spiritual point of view, this is the main thing here. From the spiritual point of view, when a person is too absorbed in material enjoyment, he is exactly like a worm in stool. Are we getting this message today in this reading or not? But It's actually not so funny. It's true, and it's not that funny.
Coming
But
from
Mahaprabhu is making it like a joke, right? Mahaprabhu just told. But it's really a serious fact, because it's a disease. Now, from the spiritual point of view, when a person is too absorbed in material enjoyment, he is exactly like a worm in stool. Not a little bit like, but exactly like. Although such a position is utterly miserable to the eyes of who? Liberated souls. To the eyes of liberated souls, that position is utterly miserable. So although that is the fact, but the materialistic enjoyer is greatly attached. So these are the facts of life. They must be heard by the Vaishnavas and deeply contemplated, and Krishna will arrange. What will he arrange? He'll arrange to detach us at the right time, in the right way. That's all in the 11th canto. Very wonderful instructions in the 11th canto about how this will take place. But if a devotee, that's the bottom line, is surrender, but there's a lot of factors here, see? But if a devotee actually wants to remain in such a position like that, and they don't want to get this mercy and to get extricated from the ditch of stool, what will happen to such a devotee?
Stay the same.
Well, what happens at the end of the life of that devotee, when the final moment is coming? What fruits do they reap from their refusal to give up the material attachment? Krishna fulfills their desire, because Krishna fulfills the desire of all the jivas. So again they take birth, again they have these samskaras, and again they have to go through that again. To go through it again.
School.
School
And all that suffering.
Well, yeah, but then they'll also go into household life with these samskaras. See, we have to understand one thing. Samskaras are very important. That's not talked about so much in the early teachings of Srila Prabhupada. It's there. But for those Vaishnavas who are speaking to a little bit more of an advanced audience, like Gurudev, in his message, the words samskaras are mentioned very often, and we have to understand this. We are creating our own samskaras and impressions by what we're doing right now in this body, and what we're doing in this life. And those are partly influenced by our previous life's impressions. In other words, what I'm saying is there's like a continuation, there's a continuum of impressions from one life to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's miraculous that persons who are addicted to illicit sex, intoxication, this and that, and they took to the path of Mahaprabhu and gave that up. But they were, by their birth, in a materialistic circumstance, they became like that. But they were extricated, they were saved and rescued by the pure devotee. And then they began to create new samskaras, you see. But sometimes the previous samskara pulled them back, you see. So then Krishna sends another pure devotee named Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj to again pull them out and give them mercy. And some are willing. Yes, please, save me, pull me out. And some are not so willing. They want mercy, they have great respect. So, we're going to hear what Mahaprabhu says about the brother and uncle, that they're not really Vaishnavas, but they're almost Vaishnavas. The word prai is used, Vaishnava prai. So my point is that we are responsible and nobody else is. We are responsible to live our lives in such a way that with these positive samskaras, and we will get the mercy of the pure devotees by pleasing them. How do you please them? You live your life as they want you to live your life. That's how you please them. Not just by coming, oh, Gurudev. No, by living your life as they want you to live it. Do they want you to take intoxication? Hell no. Absolutely no. Do they want you to have illicit sex? No. Do they want you to drown yourself in material enjoyment and identify yourselves like ordinary materialistic people? No. Do they want you to always be out of sadhu sangha and always in bad association? No. They want favorable conditions in the most favorable association that you can quickly advance. You see? They're not against you being in household life, having children, family, raising them, being a dutiful householder. But they don't want you to remain in the ditch of material enjoyment. They want you to be liberated from that. And it will happen. Only by Krishna's mercy. It's the only way it happens. Like we said here, like it is told here, Prabhupada, a conditioned soul cannot save himself. But when the Savior comes, then you have to cooperate. Yes, I want to be saved. Please pull me out. I'm holding on to your lotus feet. You see? Then you'll be successful. If that mood is there, we will be successful. So, although your father and uncle are charitable to the Brahmanas, and they greatly help them, but they are nevertheless, they are not Shuddha Vaishnavas, pure Vaishnavas. But Nahe Hoi Vaishnavera Prai. They are almost like Vaishnavas. Now, as stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, we didn't get to read this yesterday, but this is a very important purport. That's why I'm reviewing this, because it would, you know, we're fresh on this topic, but we really have to churn it more deeply and get these impressions from this study, from learning this. So as stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, some people, usually very rich men, they dress like Vaishnavas and they give charity to Brahmanas. In India, it's very common, especially in the previous times when Prabhupada grew up in India, and even today, but especially in Bengal. They wear dhoti and so forth, and they're very rich, and they dress like Vaishnava, and they give charity to the Brahmanas. They're very wealthy. They're also attached to deity worship, but because of their attachment to material enjoyment, they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. Because of their attachment to material enjoyment, they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. Now, Prabhupada is quoting Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam. The pure Vaishnava has no desire for material enjoyment. That is the basic qualification of a pure Vaishnava. There are men, especially rich men, who regularly worship the deity, give charity to Brahmanas, and they are pious in every respect, but they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. Despite their outward show of Vaishnavism and charity, their inner desire is to enjoy a higher standard of material life. I'll tell one story in this regard I'm remembering right now. So, you know, Srila Prabhupada, when he went back to India in 1970, he spent almost a whole year starting his movement in India, 1970, after he had launched his movement in the West. So he brought a whole group of devotees with him to India. You can read about that in some of the books. Especially Shama Sundar's second volume is coming. He'll be telling in a lot of detail about that. How they were with Prabhupada for a whole year. And what was Prabhupada doing? He was going to all these homes of these wealthy industrialists. And a lot of those contacts Prabhupada had from his previous, business life. He knew various big industrialists. They're called industrialists in India. They own factories and they're very rich. And they're pious men, And so it was his plan to go, and he launched, his movement in India by creating what was called the Life Membership Program. You heard about that? Life members. Signing them up that they become life members. They give a donation. They get books in return. And in this way, they're supporting the Hare Krishna movement. So, I actually had the opportunity one time when we went in 1975 to India, and we went to Hyderabad, and we attended a big, huge festival that was organized by the ISKCON devotees who were preaching in Hyderabad. And they had a big pandal tent, and there was a few thousand people who came every night. And there was a huge, gigantic stage, and all of us Western devotees, we sat up on the stage with Srila Prabhupada every night for about 5 nights. And he lectured in English language, because that's like Telugu is the language there. And because of his Western disciples, so he lectured in English language to the whole crowd audience. And so one day we were able to go with Srila Prabhupada to the home of a wealthy, pious industrialist who was hosting Srila Prabhupada and all of us, a few hundred disciples, and feeding us, very nice cooking and prasadam. Then after that, Prabhupada, we were sitting with him, and he was joking and relaxing with the family members and so forth. And then he also made a joke about household life to them. And it was in a very jovial mood. We were all looking through the windows, from the outside. And Prabhupada was telling about how in the association of women, everyone must suffer. He was explaining from the Ramayana how Lord Ram, when Sita Devi was kidnapped, and he's searching, where is Sita, 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 and so much suffering he had to undergo. So Prabhupada made this little joke and he said, even if you are a Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the association of women, you will have to suffer. He made that joke. And all the family, they're laughing. So I remember hearing the story that Srila Prabhupada, in that first year, in 1970, when the devotees were going with Prabhupada on a regular basis to these very wealthy industrialist homes, and being hosted, and they're giving prasadam and all of that. Then Prabhupada, when they first arrived, or after the meal or whatever, Prabhupada was standing, and the man had lined up his family members, and he was introducing Srila Prabhupada. This is my son, this is my son's wife, this is my other son, and this is my daughter, and like this, And then Prabhupada, as he was like, there was another, I forget who it was, Tamal Krishna Maharaj or someone, so one of these devotees, Prabhupada gestured to him and he said, without them hearing what he was saying, says, he is showing me his sex life. This is the pride of the materialist, you see. My sons, my daughters, my family, my. I, me, mine. Produced by sex desire, you see. He is showing me. That's Prabhupada's vision of that, you see. So the point is that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is even saying that about the parents of Raghunath Das Goswami and his uncle. They're not pure Vaishnavas. They're not Shuddha Vaishnavas. They're Vaishnav Prai, almost Vaishnavas. So Prabhupada is saying here that there are men, especially rich men, who regularly worship the deity, they give charity to Brahmins, and they are pious in every respect, but they cannot become pure Vaishnavas. And despite their outward show of Vaishnavism and charity, Their inner desire is to enjoy a higher standard of material life. And Raghunath Das's father, Govardhan, and his uncle Hiranya Das were both very charitable to Brahmanas. Indeed, the Brahmanas from the Gaudiya district were practically dependent upon them, and thus they were accepted as very pious gentlemen. However, they presented themselves as Vaishnavas to the eyes of people in general, although from a purely spiritual point of view, they were ordinary human beings, not pure Vaishnavas. Actual Vaishnavas considered them almost Vaishnavas, not pure Vaishnavas. So in other words, they were Kanishta Adhikaris, for they were ignorant of higher Vaishnava regulative principles. Nevertheless, they could not be called Vishayis or blind materialistic enjoyers. So you see, they're not in that category. They're not blind materialistic enjoyers. They're pious, but they're not pure Vaishnavas. So then, Mahaprabhu continues and he says, those who are attached to materialistic life and are blind to spiritual life, they must act in such a way that they are bound to repeated birth and death by the actions and reactions of their activities. But I was saying, we're creating our samskars, we're creating our next body, we're creating our next mentality in our next body. We have to understand that. It's very essential to understand that we have to act in this life and strive toward pure devotion, because if we don't, we're going to be stuck. We'll be stuck. So this takes a little bit of a higher knowledge, takes a little bit of a higher consciousness. So those who are fortunate, actually, they will become diligent about this in their spiritual practices, in their spiritual life, understanding that Krishna is in my heart, Guru has given me blessings, I have to live my life strictly.
That's not by the mercy of Krishna, or that is by the mercy?
Of course it's by the mercy of Krishna.
But in that scenario, we could like, I'll use myself as an example, I could be in this cycle for the last, who knows how many lifetimes. Yeah. You don't ever know whether you're going up in advancement or down in advancement.
But what's the point?
The point is that it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
Nerve-wracking?
I don't know. It's like to think that that you may not be getting Krishna's mercy, and you may not be getting Krishna's mercy for thousands of years.
No. Krishna's mercy is always there, waiting for us. This we have to understand. It's not by chance. Like in your case, you've been born as a devotee. Not by chance. But there have been, we cannot know in the past how many lifetimes we were trying to be pious or, But in this life, having taken birth in the West and having come in contact with Krishna Bhakti and the pure Vaishnavas and all that, we, if we're intelligent and we're capable of understanding our good fortune, and we're honest, it takes a lot of honesty. We have to give up this duplicity, it takes honesty. So we have to actually begin to really surrender. Take shelter of the holy names, take shelter. We have tons and tons of shelter available to us. But if somebody wants to turn their face and say, nah, I'm just going to play, I'm just going to have fun, I'm just going to gratify my senses, I am just going to, chase after material enjoyment and lust and anger and greed and envy and all the rest of it, you're going to have to taste the fruits. Gurudev always told us, everyone will have to taste the fruits of their actions.
Just don't get when you say mercy is there. So as somebody who's practicing has already been introduced into Krishna consciousness, whether it's by birth or by whatever, at that point the mercy is just kind of there. At that point, you've heard from sadhus, you've heard from whoever it would be, It's just now your opportunity to take it. But when then you're also bringing in the factor of some scars, how some scars are going to either bring us down or bring us up. But in a scenario where a previous life some car is bringing you down, then my logical point of view is that it's just going to continue to bring you down, or at least the chance that it will. Because
now enters one main factor. 3 words. I've told this before. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sri Maharaj. Sincerity is invincible. That's what is required. Sincerity. Honesty. There's actually Srila Bharati Maharaj. There's a whole lecture I saw somewhere that he's talking about what does it mean to be sincere. You know, what does it actually mean that you're sincere? It means honesty also. It means freedom from duplicity. You may be fallen. You may be attached. We've all gone through this. We're all going through this. But sincerity, humility, honesty. I want this. I'm a wretched. I mean, what did Rabindranath Das Goswami say to Mahaprabhu? I'm so fallen, wretched. I mean, he condemned himself. What did Sanatana Goswami say when he was rescued by Mahaprabhu? When he came to Mahaprabhu? You know? So it's, and Rupa Goswami, unbelievable humility they had. Self-condemnation. We have to have that. It has to become part of us. And that will free us. But if we have this griha vrata, this desire to enjoy materialistic sense gratification in this world, we'll have to taste the fruits of that. We will have to taste the fruits. And we will also witness many who are doing that. But does that mean that we do it? Just because there's so many who are doing it, they have the chance. But now they've taken the other path. Should we join in that? That means you have been fooled by Maya. Okay? So the mercy is there. This is the point. The mercy is there. But we have to accept that. So you're going to say something?
Well, that's good. Yeah, no, that's good. Good response.
Sharanagati. Surrender. It's our business. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, mind your own business. There's a good one-liner from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Mind your own business. You know how somebody says, hey, you mind your own business. So he says, mind your own business. Surrender. And that's all that we have to do. Because nobody else is going to surrender for us. Huh? And if you want to select your association of persons who are not really trying to surrender, you want to surround yourself with those kind of persons and get influenced by them, then that will be your fruits. You'll have to taste those fruits. But surrender, 6 limbs. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulya vivarjanam, rakshishyatiti vishvasa, goptritve varanam tata, atmanikshepa karpanya. Humility. Shadvidham, sharanagati. These 6 are sharanagati. Our life is meant for sharanagati. We have to cultivate it. It's a cultivation. It's a development process. And we will be successful. Because Srila Sridhar said, if you just simply focus on surrender, everything else will come from that. Bhakti, everything. It will all come from surrender. So anukulyasya sankalpa. Accept everything favorable. If Guru is telling, do such and such, you obediently follow. Even if, you know, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj used to say, even if the whole world is standing on one side and you alone are standing on the other side, you have to be ready for that. You have to be ready. Not the popular opinion, not this, that. You have to be convinced, I'm going to follow this path.
That's what surrender is accepting what's favorable for God and rejecting what's not. And listening to your guru, because that's what they're telling you.
Yeah. And 4 others. 4 other limbs. So we run out of time. Is this okay timing for you? Okay.
We can adjust anytime if you want, Mars. We can do it also at 8 if you want.
No.
The sun is still high.
Yeah, no, but anyway, this is good. I just don't want to inconvenience.
It's good that I also do the offering early because
Yeah.
also I get a little bit of
You get to hear more.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay.
It's nice too.
Okay, any last questions or comments before we...
One quick one.
Yeah.
In terms of when you say for Grihastha, you still perform your Dharma, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of Dharma, is a Dharma a general kind of like statement that is posted over all Grihasthas as to what they're doing, or is it based off of like individuals? And when I say like that, it's like somebody's, you know, I know people have different dharmas, right? But in terms of like, how do I put this? Like, yeah, I guess everybody just has a different dharma, and then how do you know what your dharma is and how you're supposed to? That is kind of a big question, but how are you? Yeah, maybe I'll save it. But it's just, for me in my own life, I'm trying to figure out like what it is that I am doing. And how do I distinguish what's trying to enjoy beyond what I just need to do to perform my dharma? Like in terms of like in like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, is just you're just kind of like enjoying the material, you know, stool. It's like, how do I know that just by, you know, how do I know what that line is of like being able to like perform my dharma but yet be detached and like and not be like, you know, thinking or that I might just be engrossed in Maya, you know.
Okay, well, you know, I think there's a simple answer. Of course, it can be discussed more at length. But like Gurudev said, what is the symptom? How will you know that you're doing your dharma, that you're performing your devotional activities, following the instructions of Guru and so forth? How do you know?
Do you feel happy?
Yes. Yes. That's the symptom.
It's not, that can't just be confused with having more material.
It won't be confused by a sincere devotee who's actually trying to do, even struggling and trying to do his bhakti and trying to live his life and all that. But there will be an inner happiness. Even if you're suffering externally, that inner happiness and that glow, it will be there. And you'll know it. You'll feel it. You know? Because Mahaprabhu also told, they think that they're happy, but they're really suffering. So in household life, a devotee can be a successful grihastha and have that internal happiness, although the external circumstances are biting and pinching. That will be there. This is the nature of material enjoyment, right? But he easily glides through all of this because he's not trying to enjoy the material happiness. He's taking the material happiness, the normal, acceptable, healthy material happiness. That's what household life is. It's a license for this. You had to get the happiness from your children. You love them, they love you, your wife, and so you live in that way, but without too much undue attachment, because that leads to illusion, and then it leads to further, you know, attempt to enjoy and indulge, okay? Entanglement, but attempt to indulge and enjoy. And the thing is, when you're living that other side, you're on the other side. There's the dark side and the light side. And when you're living on the dark side, you feel a lot of suffering. There's a lot of anxiety in the heart, in the mind, all of this. So we have to learn how to fully depend on Krishna in our life. That's Sharanagati. Krishna is my only maintainer. That's the core of Sharanagati. Krishna is my guardian. He's my Gopta. Goptritve Varanam. Srila Sridhar says, embracing the guardianship of Krishna. That's the difference between a real, sincere, serious devotee who's really trying and someone who's not. They're not embracing that guardianship. They're being forgetful of Krishna. So it's a life. It's a life that we have to go through, you know. Krishna's putting us through this. We're not here by chance. We're not even in this ashram, whatever ashram we're in, by chance. Krishna's directed all of that. So now we have to take our circumstances, and in that circumstance, we have to surrender. Tattenu kampam, susamikshamano, bunjana evatma kritam vipakam, hrid vag vapur bir vidadan namaste, jiveta yo mukti pade sadayavak. This is the verse that Srila Gurudev told in Italy in one of his final years in Italy. 1,000 devotees. It was the last evening program and the very end of his lecture. And he said, all of you here, all of you, you must follow in your life 2 verses. Then he quoted that verse. Tattenu kampam susamikshamano. And then he also quoted the Gita verse. Dukkeshu avigyamana. Sukkeshu vikataspriha. Vita raga bhaya krodha stitadhir munir uchate. Who is a stitadhi muni? Krishna is telling one who is absorbed in transcendental consciousness, he will be like this. Dukkeshu avigyamana. He will not think so much, I'm suffering, this is happening. He will not be absorbed in that. And sukkeshu, in happiness, material enjoyment. Sukkeshu vigataspriha. He doesn't try to get more material enjoyment. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. 3 things. He is free from. Vita means he's free from. Vita, raga. Raga means attachment. Bhaya means fear. And krodha means anger. Stitadhir muni uchate. Such a person is called a stitadhi muni, because Arjuna wanted to know from Krishna, how can I understand that someone's actually absorbed in transcendental consciousness? What are his symptoms? How does he speak? How does he walk like this? So this is a group of verses that Krishna told in answer to that question. And this one, Gurudev pointed out, you all must live like this. And tattenu kampam. This is like the supreme verse spoken by Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter of 10th canto to Krishna when he was apologizing to Krishna. So that verse, those 2 verses, Gurudev said, you all must follow these verses. So I was just thinking about that today, you know. So anyway, we can be successful. We can become happy. We just have to learn how to surrender. And that happiness will come even when you're in the most difficult circumstances. You know, anything can happen in life, right? Anything can come up at any moment. We know the world situation is just like teetering and tottering right now, and who knows what's going to happen, you know? But we have to be fully surrendered. We have to always be surrendered to Krishna in any time, place, and circumstance. Then we'll be happy, we'll be progressing, and our life will be very successful. Prabhupada wrote to me in my initiation letter in 1971, and he says, just go on regularly chanting your rounds, reading our literatures, going for street samkirtan, etc. In this way, go on, and you will be happy, and your life will know success. Exactly those words he wrote to me. You will be happy, and your life will know success. So, this is our life. This is our test. Each one of us are being tested by Krishna throughout our life. So, we shouldn't be chasing after material happiness and this, and we shouldn't also be concerned whether or not this suffering condition, that. Take shelter. Take shelter of Krishna. Take shelter of Guru internally and live your life, and then automatically we'll be happy. You believe that? You believe that that's a fact?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
It is a fact. So we have to do it. Not a Adidas slogan. This is coming from our Guru Parampara. This is coming from Krishna. You know what Krishna's words are? Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja. That's called just do it. That's coming directly from Krishna. Gaur Premanande.
Hey, Hari Bol.
Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai, Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Shri Jagannatha Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakradev ki jai, Jai Shri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.